For months now, whispers of a Trump and Putin meeting have swirled. But now the idea is back. Both sides suddenly seem interested, and the timing is no accident. Donald Trump believes in the power of the handshake. He thinks a face-to-face with Vladimir Putin could break 6 months of Moscow's stubbornness. He still clings to the fantasy that the Kremlin can be coaxed into peace. This, despite Putin's latest claim that Russia and Ukraine are one people and that any land touched by a Russian boot is forever Russia. Putin's interest is simpler and far more cynical. He's buying time. He's already brushed off a United States-European Union-Ukraine proposal for an unconditional ceasefire in May. His counter? 2 empty, short-lived pauses. Meanwhile, his troops push forward in a summer offensive that could reshape the battlefield by fall. He wants any talks later to reflect a new and harsher reality, one tilted in his favor. The Americans still talk about a 3-way summit. Trump, Putin, Zelenskyy focused on ending the war. But Russia rejected the same idea in Istanbul months ago. Putin prefers one-on-one theatrics, where he can pull Trump into Moscow's narrative and away from Kyiv's. If the meeting happens, it could shape the war's endgame or lock it into a dangerous new phase. Here are 5 probable scenarios that could play out in the Russia-Ukraine war. Don't bet on this, but Moscow rejected the same idea in May, even under the threat of sanctions. Trump abandoned the sanctions push, opting for limp talks in Istanbul that went nowhere. Putin sees no reason to stop now. His gains on the front lines are mounting day by day. Even secondary sanctions on China and India, both resisting US pressure, won't change his calculus. Until October, he will fight, because right now, he's winning. This is more likely. The leaders could agree to meet again, sealing in Russian advances when winter halts the fighting. By then, eastern towns like Pokrovsk, Kotyantyskyva and Kupiansk could be in Russian hands. Putin could then wait out the winter, regroup and attack next year, that is in 2026, or press for permanent recognition of his gains. He might use Ukraine's delayed elections to question Zelensky's legitimacy and push for a pro-Moscow leader. Western military aid helps Kyiv hold the line. Some towns may fall, but the Russian advance slows. Sanctions will bite harder, Putin will find his forces stalled again, and Europe will ready for a reassurance force where tens of thousands of NATO troops stationed near Kyiv and other cities will provide intelligence and logistics. This would be Ukraine's best-case scenario, which is a frozen front, but not a lost war. If Trump's meeting with Putin improves US-Russia relations but sidelines Ukraine, the West's unity could crack. Without US backing, Europe alone may fail to balance. Putin could turn small eastern gains into sweeping advance towards Dnipro, Zaporizhia, and even Kyiv. Ukraine's manpower crisis will deepen. Wider mobilization will become a political nightmare. NATO will hesitate. Europe will balk at a full war for Ukraine's territory, and Putin will press forward. This is a nightmare scenario, especially with Ukraine's end as a sovereign state. It could also unravel for Moscow. Heavy losses, sanctions biting into trade with China and India, and a dwindling sovereign wealth fund could weaken Putin's grip. Elite dissent could grow. Trump could lose political ground, and the US might swing back to the traditional anti-Moscow policy. It would echo the Soviet disaster in Afghanistan, which was a long, costly, and pointless war. Putin's strength could suddenly look brittle. We have seen it before, even in this war. Yevgeny Prigozhin's short-lived revolt proved cracks exist. None of these scenarios, however, guarantee Ukraine's victory. Only one truly breaks Russia's military power, and none of them can be achieved through a Trump-Putin meeting alone unless Ukraine is part of the deal. Without Kyiv at the table, the war's future will be decided by two men, each chasing his own version of victory and neither willing to give an inch.